Hi, it's Mark Mancini, the Vacation Rental Coach, and this week's episode is about bookings when you sell your short-term rental, your vacation rental. So stay tuned. And welcome back. Now this episode, we're going to talk about how you handle and how you navigate when you're going to sell your vacation rental and how you deal with the bookings as part of it. So this episode, I'm going to reference some of my courses in there, but I want to first start off with when you started with your vacation rental, you probably didn't start off thinking what your exit plan was, but now you're in that boat, all right? Now, if you ask anyone who's built and sold a business, usually for millions of dollars, they're going to tell you these exact words. When you start your business, you always want to start your business with an exit plan. In other words, when you start your business up, you want to say, okay, well, X factor, maybe it's an age, maybe it's a dollar amount, I want to exit. Does that mean selling? Does that mean dissolving? Does it mean handing it off to your kids? Whatever, okay? Now, in my VRBOutstanding.com course, we go into all the details with how to transition your home to heirs or to others or to sell it, okay? But this episode, what we're gonna talk about here is when you go to sell your vacation rental, how you deal with all those bookings, okay? But I wanted to give you some background because you wanna have an exit plan. Maybe you're not ready to sell yet. That's fine. But you're gonna want to sell one day, and you want to be able to be prepared for that moment. So it's always good to think, okay, in X number of years, I want to be done with vacation rentals, and that's fine. Now, this is going to be your pathway there, all right? Now, 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I decided to sell my vacation rental here in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. The house was getting older. It was originally built in 1986. It's a 6,600 square foot home, 7 bedrooms, 6 bath. It had a game room, a pool, a hot tub, boat lift, jet ski docks, fish cleaning station, kayaks. I mean, it was an amazing house, and it slept over 30 people. It was great for a large group. We had, I think, a dozen beds in the house because it was a large house. And we were booked from March till the end of October, and then for Thanksgiving and Christmas, we were booked easily 35 weeks a year. And in that area, in Murrells Inlet, no one was booked 35 weeks a year. It was unheard of, okay? So we really, and the house was not a cheap house to rent. So we did very well with it, but it was an aging house, okay? And it really required a lot of attention. Now, I did move locally to the area around 2015, so I was just a few miles away from the house, several miles away. So if things went wrong, I could always address it myself. Then I moved in with my wife around 2016, 17, and it was a little bit further. It was more like an hour or so drive there, which is feasible, but you don't want to go there after every turnover. So again, with the house aging, with the house the way it was, it did require more hands-on. Also, too, we had some floods throughout the course of my ownership there. And, after you go through 2 or 3 of them, you start getting to the point where I'm getting tired of this. So since our plans are trying to move to the Keys in a couple of years, we already have a vacation rental down there. My thought was, well, I'll do a 1031 exchange, sell this one, and get one down there. Now, I've got another episode, actually 2 episodes on 1031 exchanges that I did when I did that 1031 exchange. So you can actually see the whole process. If you're interested, just look at the videos on my channel and you'll see part 1 and part 2. Now, when I did the whole selling of that house, I'm in South Carolina, and in many states, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, and some other usually coastal ones, where you do a lot of vacation rentals, what happens is you've got state laws that require that 90 days after closing, you cannot cancel the guest's bookings. In fact, when you close on the house, you have to transfer those bookings over. We're going to show you how to do that. Now, if you don't do that, the person can sue you, there's penalties, so you have to make sure that you're definitely obeying the law. So when you go to list your house, you have to talk to your realtor and find out if there's any laws in your state and what those are exactly with handing this off. Remember, you can be booked with VRBO, Airbnb, or direct, okay? And we'll talk about each of those three. Now, the next thing I'm going to mention too is when you go to put your house up for sale, first of all, you don't want to have your guest interrupted. And that was one thing I put a requirement in. If you wanted to see the house, that it had to be during the turnover times from 10 to 3, and you had to realize it was going to be messy between 10 and 3 during that window. Now, we did have a couple people who wanted to see it other times. I didn't want to inconvenience my guest. So we always asked for proof of funds, and we made sure that they read all the financials and any questions they had, because you're going to step in someone's vacation house. And to do that, what we would do is we would offer the guest $100, say, we'll buy you pizza, and we'll send $100 worth of pizza, or just give you $100 to spend any way you want. Or, like I said, we had a great deal worked out at the local pizza place. How many pizzas would 8 pizzas do? What kind of cover toppings do you want on there? And so whatever covered their home, if they had, let's just say 20 people, we made sure we got them at least 10 pizzas. What do you want? Pepperoni, extra cheese, Sicilian, whatever. And thank you for letting us show the house for an hour and interrupt your vacation there. So that was kind of how we offset that, but we really tried to avoid that, because people, they say they're serious, they're really not. You have to really ask them their intentions and grill them pretty good. Make sure they've read all the information on the financials, what money it's bringing in, make sure they're qualified on the loan, but also make sure they have proof of funds. You want to see a statement that they've got the money either for the down payment, or if they're buying it cash, that they have the funds. Okay, so when you do a 1031 exchange, you always want to look for what you're going to be buying early on. In fact, probably first before you list the home. So we were already actively looking for another vacation home in the Florida Keys. So we went ahead and listed our home, and we put it for sale, and it took a few months, because it's not a typical home people get for vacation rentals, but number-wise, it did great, but most people aren't ready to drop, a couple 7 figures on a home. So we were going into a small target niche audience, so to speak. So when we got to that point, I showed him the calendar. I said, here's what we have booked for the rest of the year. And basically, he was walking into, he and she, it was a couple that bought it. They were walking into, I think it was around April or so, we were doing this. Already at that point, we already had probably $25,000 in revenue. We had, I think, $120,000 through VRBO. We had about $30,000, $40,000 direct. And probably, I don't know, another 1 or 2 here and there, because we were doing about $225 to $240 a year at that time. This is, again, 3 or 4 years ago. So they knew what I had as far as bookings, and I encouraged them to get owner res, and kind of set them up the way I was set up with my owner res account, and made sure we got them ready to be on Airbnb and VRBO. Now, we reached out to Airbnb and VRBO. We explained to them the situation. We're going to be closing on this date, and we're going to have to cancel these reservations, and we're going to have them rebook. Because you have to have them cancel and rebook. You can't transfer the booking, so to speak, especially if you're a super host or a premier host like I was. For the direct site, obviously much easier. We just handed the website over to them. And what was the other thing on that? Oh, the the prepayments that people made for the direct booking. Obviously, it's unearned revenue, so I had to transfer that over to the owner as part of the closing. Now, we wanted to make sure it closed, so we really didn't do any of this stuff till that afternoon. So we tried to close earlier in the day, like 9, 10 o'clock, not later in the day. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind. Next thing you want to keep in mind, because I was running OwnerRez, I had all the contact information from VRBO, Airbnb clients. I had their email, I had their phone number, which is something you have to have, okay? Because when they go ahead and cancel your reservation, at least you got a record of everything in OwnerRez. So, went ahead and reached out via email to all the guests. I said, look, we're selling the house on this date. You know, that's the closing date. We're gonna have to, at that date, cancel reservations and have you rebook. And I gave them the step-by-step process of because VRBO was one that definitely, they had noted my account, what was gonna happen. So when people called up to rebook, no problem. We canceled the VRBO and then the guest rebooked. So we gave them all the steps they had to follow. Now, the next step was answering all the emails from the people who had the questions, because everyone had usually the same question. What's gonna happen? Oh my God, is it gonna be the same? We put all that in the first email, but people they had questions. Don't you worry. The new owners want to keep everything the same. We've got the same cleaning staff. We've got the same website. We've got everything the same pool company, right? So everything was going to be as seamless as possible. So with the OTAs, your Airbnb, VRBO, basically you got to let them know ahead of time. Wait for closing. When closing happens and it's transferred over, that afternoon you're going to be busy working with the other owners, the new owners, and you're going to reach out to those guests. Okay, if it's VRBO, for instance, we call up our rep because we're premier host with VRBO. The rep went ahead and canceled all the VRBO reservations. We then reached out to each of the guests. Okay, rebook those dates. Now we had people, because we cleared our calendar, reach out to us. Oh, I see you've got an opening for July 4th. We want to book. Can't do it. I'll put you on standby in case something happens, but somebody already booked. We had to cancel them because we sold the house. So you're gonna have that. So we went ahead and got the VRBO people done right away, pretty darn easy, because VRBO really holds your hands with it. You know, the rep will walk you through it, gets everyone rebooked. You make sure the dollar amounts are the same and everything's good to go. Next was the Airbnb. That gets trickier. Okay, you're gonna have to get canceled through the Airbnb agent, and you're gonna have to get them to rebook and make sure everything stays the same as far as the price and so forth. So if you're using anything like Price Labs or anything else like that, you just understand that you're gonna have to probably manually adjust some of those prices, because the Price Labs is gonna adjust the dynamic pricing no matter what time of the year it is. So they might be paying a different price when they go to rebook. With our direct bookings, what we did was at closing, we ran up, okay, there's, let's just say, 4 bookings that prepaid $8,000. So $32,000 from closing goes to them. And so the closing money all went over to them. And then we just transferred all the information over into their OwnerRez, and they were good to go from there on out. And then within 90 days, the second payment was made, and that was on them to collect, not me. Okay, so I didn't want to show that money coming in as earned revenue, okay, because I didn't earn it. So that's where, when you do direct bookings, right, and you get the first payment, technically that's unearned revenue. So you should have a trust account for that, depending on your state and depending if you're a licensed realtor. You may have to. If you're just an owner, you don't have to have it, but you need to make sure mentally you've earmarked that money, because that is unearned revenue. So when you sell the house, you have to make sure you allocate that money to them. When you do that whole thing and everything gets moved over, I would also back it up with another email to everyone and just say, hey, everything seems to be like it went through. double check your booking, make sure everything looks good. I'm so sorry about this, but I think everything went through fine. You're gonna have a great vacation. You know, can't wait. The owner can't wait to see you and host you when you come for your stay. And it should go pretty seamless. The people are pretty understanding. I think we had one person that was a little skeptical and we had to call them over the phone and walk them through. But this happens actually a lot more than you realize. Because again, you want to have that exit plan. What am I going to do when I'm just sick and tired of dealing with guests? And maybe, you know, it's like us. You just want to change your vacation rental from one place to another, and you just want to get rid of also something old and get something new. Or maybe you're just at the age where you're out of F's to give and you just want to get out and sell, and that's fine too. Now, I hope this helped, but I know I didn't answer every single one of your questions. So, if you do have any questions remaining, down below we've got comments. Aside from you hitting like and subscribe, you're gonna throw those comment questions in and we're gonna get back to them promptly. Thank you for joining me this week. Don't forget, Vacation Home Mastery. If you wanna do direct bookings and do it right, know everything from A to Z and everything in between, Vacation Home Mastery is the bomb. We've got that link down below. It's $329 or $399. It's the cheapest course out there. It's 2 solid hours of great content that will make your listings pop. It'll show you how to get bookings and make you a hell of a lot more money without having to rely on Airbnb and VRBO. Folks, again, thanks for joining me this week. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you then.